Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Recusant 9 leaflets were crowdfunded by the people of Oldham. The first crowdfunder we put them on, they cancelled it and sent all the money back. And then I went on to crowdfunder, a different site, and I spoke to them. And you'll all recall. And they agreed to support it because, you know, it's a democracy. And we raised, I think, just over £1,100, and then they take the fees and stuff, but give or take, it was like £1,100 we raised. And I put together a leaflet, got it printed, and I had to, I put a PO box down, so I put the Recusant 9 sort of PO box in AROOJ SHAH, Recusant 9, so there was no ambiguity of who'd done it, because I wasn't hiding. And I checked all the rules and the law beforehand. And I'm a third-party campaigner. What's called a third-party campaigner, a non-political campaigner. It's like I'm not a politician. I'm not standing for election. And therefore, in a democracy, I'm able to distribute leaflets sharing my views and opinions. As long as they're lawful, legal, you know, and raise issues and things that I believe are important, I have every right to do so in a democracy. If it's libellous, then fine. But there's nothing libellous in it, which I'll show in a moment. But I did it the right and proper way, and of course I checked things out. Someone messaged me like, oh, Wilby said this, blah, 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 he's reported you to the Electoral Commission. I'm like, well, last week he'd reported me to the Attorney General for having a coffee in Costa. So this week it was the Electoral Commission. And it's involved why I wasn't registered, or his belief that I wasn't registered as a third-party campaigner. Well, guess what? They changed the laws recently, where the limit used to be £20,000, but now the limit is £10,000. So if you spend less than £10,000, you don't have to register with the Electoral Commission. And it's a matter of public record because it was crowdfunded. The amount we raised was crowdfunded and on the webpage. It was £1,100. So why would I register? I wouldn't even be eligible to register because I'd not hit the threshold. And of course the Electoral Commission told them to get lost. So somehow it became it became a police matter. It became a police matter. Sorry, I'm laughing. We're a bloody democracy. Sorry, I'm And the next thing I know, some muppet from the Oldham Times emails me. And I see something put on Facebook No, sorry, the next thing I know is I see something put on Facebook that someone sent to me. Have you seen this? Because I was out delivering leaflets. I've not seen it. That the Conservatives had put up a statement. Sorry, I couldn't help but laugh my head off. Because you've got to understand what they actually did there. Now, remember, I'm not campaigning for the Conservatives. I'm campaigning for the town. I see a difference. I'm not campaigning for the Conservatives. I'm campaigning for the town. For me, there's a fundamental difference between one and the other. And she'd written to the Conservatives asking them to distance themselves from the leaflets and accused them of being involved. And I was working in tandem. So the Conservatives put her entire statement up on Facebook. That's them taking the piss. The Conservatives put the entire AROOJ Shah's entire letter, the entire statement up on Facebook. It's still there on the Facebook page. It's the screams of a spoiled child. And she'd clearly not written it, is the other thing. Someone had written it for her, because she references my name and references by my first name, Raja. Actually, my friends call me Raja. Very few people, people who don't know me definitely don't call me that. So they reference me. And misogyny and racist, apparently. And libellous, libel, malicious, and it's caused her alarm and distress. Let me show you. You can have me laughing in the side. So this appears in the Oldham Times. And the Oldham Times did get in touch, and what they were going to write, they've had to heavily edit. So in the end, they've not even named me. They've not even named me in their article, because they'd get in trouble. They're already needing IPSO, which is the bogus press complaints lot, desperately trying to cover up for them. Remember, this is the lot that claimed I was arrested as part of a CSE investigation. Oldham's council leader has called on the borough's Conservative Party to distance itself from leaflets that have caused her significant distress. The leaflets have been handed out in South Chadderton, AROOJ Shah's ward, discussing allegations made against her ahead of local elections in May. I'm not making any allegations. I'll put the leaflet up. I'd quite happily like anyone to demonstrate to me where I've made a single allegation in that leaflet. The leaflets are understood to contain allegations about Councillor Shah's relationships with convicted criminals and her rise to council leader. We'll see about that. On Tuesday, March the 22nd, the Oldham Conservative Party revealed on its Facebook page that Councillor Shah had emailed the group asking for them to distance themselves from the leaflet. The Conservatives have said they are not connected to the leaflets being distributed. Councillor Dave Arnott of the Conservatives said, how he kept a straight face, I don't know. The Oldham and Saddleworth Conservative Federation has been contacted by Councillor Shah regarding the issue. The chairman has replied, clearly stating that the leaflet has nothing to do with the Conservatives and suggesting that she should raise her concerns with the author. In the Conservatives' Facebook post, it said the leaflets were clearly not produced by the party, as they were No imprint, logo or contact details of any candidates. It's got my name on it. It's got my contact details on it. And the Muppets at the Oldham Times had worked it out to send me an email asking me to comment. So it's blatantly obvious who the leaflets belong to. The leaflets are understood to have been distributed in South Chadderton, Councillor Shah's ward, over the weekend. And in the email she says they have caused her significant distress. Councillor Shah added, the leaflets were part of an ongoing campaign of harassment and hate. Harassment and hate. An aim to create division based on race and religion. Racist, 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 bloody racist. In a statement made to the Oldham Times, Councillor Shah said, the leaflets contain 7 references to my race and religion. Remember that, she's claiming the leaflets make 7 references to her race and religion. Before reminding voters that the ward has a majority white community. Remember those 2 points. I know the community of South Chadderton well. Not from my interactions with them. Many people had never seen you in their lives. They'd never seen her in her life. I know the community of South Chadderton well and believe this will backfire. Because ultimately, they are good people and want their elected members to focus on improving the area. Not political fallouts and personal attacks. For my own part, I want to say this. I am Oldham, born and bred. Oldham's new council leader is the first Muslim woman in the north to hold a top job. That's not my quote. You can see the headline there, and that photograph there is zoomed in from the headline used in the Manchester Evening News. You can see that screen grab. You can see that screen grab yourself. That's the Manchester Evening News. Do you see it there? Right at the top. Do you see that there? MEN News. Greater Manchester News. Oldham. That is from the Manchester Evening News. I do not make reference to AROOJ Shah's religion or gender. The Manchester Evening News used it. You're all right then, weren't they? I've caused her alarm and distress, and as if you look at the Conservative page, she's got on about harassment and all sorts of other stuff. Okay. Declared associations with multiple Pakistani mobsters. It's a matter of fact. It's photographs I've got. Dodgy declarations and yo-yo ownership of an ice cream parlour. Matter of fact. In fact, she claimed, was it Julie Hayward? Julie, you asked a question, didn't you, that they refused to answer? Was she blamed a council officer for her having to have failed to have declared her ownership? But the council won't name who the council officer was or what training or punishment that council officers had. I think it's pretty clear it was a borough solicitor. Yeah, thank you, Julie. So the dodgy declaration and yo-yo ownership is so much of a matter of fact. The question was asked in the council meeting. Disregard for the views of local residents, including welcoming asylum seekers to the area. You've all seen what's gone on with the Victoria Hotel and how they tried to cover it up and alluded to somehow they were, you know, part of the Afghan resettlement scheme, and then you had to read the small print to work out they weren't. Yeah, exactly, Gary. MEN says it is cool. Raja says it is racist. Disgraceful role in a council's cover-up. Ready? Disgraceful role in her council's cover-up of child abuse and the grooming and gang rape of working class white girls from across the town. Have I made it up? Or have I imagined it? I know the newspapers have refused to cover it, but did she not stand up and apologise for the cover-up? Was it not in response to Gary Tarbuck's question, which was specifically about the grooming and gang rape of children, where she stood up and said her council is deeply, deeply sorry? Have I made that up? In May 2016, AROOJ Shah was axed as councillor in the predominantly Pakistani ward of St Mary's. Am I making reference to her ethnicity there? Or am I making reference to the predominantly Pakistani ward of St Mary's? I don't call it a predominantly Pakistani ward. The Oldham bloody statistics, the Oldham ward profile makes reference to it as a predominantly Pakistani ward. Go and have a look. The Oldham ward profile for St Mary's makes specific reference to the size of the Pakistani demographic in the ward. Thank you. Ordinarily a Labour Party stronghold? Matter of fact. St Mary's is ordinarily, or what has been historically ordinarily, a Labour Party stronghold. Over 2,000 people turned out and voted against her. It's on the council's own webpage how many people voted against her. Following her defeat in the area where she actually lived. Well, she actually lives in Glodick, doesn't she? She's always saying, no, her car got blown up in Glodick, remember? She lives in Glodick. AROOJ Shah was then parachuted into the predominantly white ward of Chadderton South as the official Labour Party candidate for the elections in May 2018. What in that is racist, misogynist or factually inaccurate? I'm setting context. I'm a storyteller. What's factually inaccurate? After winning this historically safe Labour Party seat with an abysmal 967 votes, it was abysmal. Shuttleworth got 1,300 odd last year. If she gets 967 votes this time, she'll lose. She was catapulted into the position of Deputy Leader of Oldham Council. She was. The Labour Party instigated a coup. Got rid of Jean Stretton, Sean Fielding became leader, and AROOJ Shah became deputy leader. Catapulted. I think that's an appropriate use of language, but it's not racist. It's not misogynistic. Sat alongside new council leader Sean Fielding, who claimed the allegations of the cover-up of child abuse in Oldham were barefaced lies. AROOJ Shah helped block a motion calling for the government to investigate. Factually accurate. It was a recorded vote. Both times. Recorded vote. In fact, this most recent time, she said, this motion will be voted down. This motion will be voted down. Fielding's failures led to his subsequent defeat in last year's elections in Failsworth, and AROOJ Shah replaced him as leader. Is there anything racist and misogynistic in those first two paragraphs? Is there anything factually inaccurate? Okay. As Oldham's first Pakistani Muslim leader, I'm quoting the Manchester Evening News. I'm quoting the Oldham Chronicle. I'm quoting the Oldham Times. They all made reference to her race, her religion and her gender, but when I'm quoting it, for it to be misogynistic, so we're clear. Misogyny is the hatred of women. Where is there anything derogatory in describing her as Oldham's first Pakistani Muslim leader? I'm being serious now. Because I'm done. I'm sick to death of the weaponizing of this stuff. As Oldham's first Pakistani Muslim leader, AROOJ SHAH also enjoys the support of the powerful Jim McMahon MP. She does. He stood outside schools delivering leaflets for her. Have you seen him stood outside schools delivering leaflets for any of the other candidates? Well, have you? He's out every week with her. For whom she had also previously worked full-time, whilst also drawing down her substantial councillor allowance. She worked for Jim McMahon's office as his parliamentary assistant, whilst also being deputy leader. It's a matter of fact. She was claiming her allowance and also earning a wage. I'm not begrudging her. I'm simply stating facts. 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 When challenged, thank you, Carl. As simple as that. When challenged, both Shah and her supporters have repeatedly played the victim card and accused critics of being misogynist or racist. Well, what has she just done now? Should these allegations of misogyny or racism not be enough to silence their detractors, one only has to take a look on social media where a combination of Pakistani mobsters, remember I'm not making reference to her ethnicity, but Irish him is a convicted criminal. He's a Pakistani mobster. And malicious bloggers openly attack those that dare oppose Shah and a Labour Party council. Is there anything factually inaccurate so far? With Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham's in-accelerated special measures, Greater Manchester Police refusing to intervene? Well, they have. Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine described himself as the gatekeeper. Blocked multiple complaints. Despite the overwhelming evidence and numerous number of complaints made against Oldham Council, AROOJ SHAH has even posted multiple love hearts on Facebook in response to the offer of murder by one of her Pakistani associates. Is that not true? You've seen the screen grabs. I've put them up. Even reported it to the police, who've refused to investigate. It's a matter of fact. But in all of this, the only time I make reference, the only time you can accuse me of anywhere referencing AROOJ SHAH's ethnicity or faith or really, gender is here, as Oldham's first Pakistani Muslim leader. As Oldham's first Pakistani Muslim leader, just the once. With friends like these. She stood up in the council chamber and admitted to friendships. Childhood friend, family friend, several times childhood friend. In the council chamber, declared her loyalty. In one of the meetings afterwards, made a reference to him as a family friend. How many of you were of Oldham Council leader AROOJ SHAH's friendships with numerous dangerous criminals when she was first elected as your councillor in Chadderton South? Is that not a legitimate question to ask? Would you have voted for her if you knew she had maintained a childhood friendship with Muhammad Imran Ali, or Irish Himmy, as he likes to be known, a convicted heroin dealer? This mobster was also the getaway driver of Oldham cop killer Dale Cregan. And in case you disputed that, there's the screen grab, thumbnail, I think they call it, from the Manchester Evening News. So if anyone started typing that in, that would come up. Have I lied? Seen any racism, misogyny yet? Seen any malice? Have you seen any anything libellous? When AROOJ Shah's relationship with Irish Imi was exposed, and it was exposed, I exposed it. How many of you knew of her relationship with him prior to those photographs being released by me? Contrary to what may be claimed, the vast majority of Oldham did not know, and as I found out when I was knocking on the doors of Chadderton South, delivering these leaflets, most people I spoke with didn't know until these leaflets went out. So I can understand why these leaflets would cause her distress. It wasn't because I was doing anything illegal or unlawful. It was because people were looking at this information, outraged that the leader of the council was pictured hanging off the arm of a convicted heroin dealer who had played his part in the killing, in aiding Dale Cregan, who murdered 2 police officers. When AROOJ Shah's relationship was exposed, instead of distancing herself from a career criminal, it's a career criminal as described by the Manchester Evening News, who had spent a significant portion of his adult life behind bars, again confirmed by the Manchester Evening News, she stood in the council chamber and declared her loyalty by stating, "I can't turn my back on people I've known since childhood." Direct quote from the council chamber on the council's YouTube channel, and also quoted in the Manchester Evening News, in that article I've listed at the top. People of Oldham might disagree with her and instead had hoped the new council leader would have distanced herself from a convicted drug trafficker who was sentenced alongside Dale Cregan. Instead, as recently as November 2021, when a concerned member of the public challenged her on a relationship with Dale Cregan's Get Her Drive, it was you, Lynn. Lynn Kovacs did it. She claimed he had nothing to do with the tragic killings of the police officers. He was convicted in the dock alongside Cregan. PC's Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone were ambushed and murdered in cold blood by Dale Cregan. In the trial that followed, AROOJ Shah's childhood friend Irish Imi was convicted and sentenced alongside Dale Cregan. Coincidentally, the police later recovered Cregan's stash of grenades from a drain pipe in the predominantly Pakistani area of Glodwick. It's a matter of fact. I can't turn my back on people I've known since childhood. That's a direct quote. I'm sorry, Gary. Remember, I'm the one who's up in court, Gary. They're trying to have me arrested and put in prison for this. Irish Imi is not AROOJ Shah's only link to dangerous criminals. Others include Zia Hussain. Hussain is a convicted kidnapper who tortured and sexually abused his victims. This is a selfie taken by Councillor Shah with Hussain on the 4th of May 2018. Do I know about why it's that date? Because the photograph's time-stamped. The 4th of May 2018. It's a matter of fact. You can see it's election night and the Labour Party rosette on him. Notice the red rosette? That is because the picture was taken the night AROOJ Shah was elected as your councillor for Chadderton South. Below is an extract from the Manchester Evening News article detailing what Hussain, another of AROOJ Shah's criminal associates, and his gang were convicted for. One victim was sexually abused. So this is a screen grab, by the way, from the MEN article. You can see one victim was sexually abused with a broomstick and forced to perform a sex act on his fellow captive. His ordeal was filmed and gang members threatened to release the humiliating footage if the police were told. The gang put electric clamps on one victim's testicles and beat him with carpet strip. He was stripped naked and hot wax dropped on his body. When police examined the house, they found blood on the settees and splattered on the walls. And here is the now leader of Oldham Council on the night of her victory in Chadderton South, taking a selfie with a man who was convicted for this heinous crime. What is libellous? Come on! The victims were forcibly snatched off the streets of Bradford, taken to Oldham and subjected to sadistic torture, ritual humiliation and degrading acts over a period of many days. And that's a direct quote from Detective Sergeant Chris Thompson. Where is my racism? Where is my misogyny? The leader of Oldham Council was given an opportunity some time ago in a council meeting where instead of distancing herself, she stood up and declared her loyalty. And she's maintained that position. And you know what hurts? Is I know they've been to the police. And I know the police have looked at this in every way possible to find a way of arresting me. If I lived in Chadderton South, I'd want to know. And that's why I went there. And that's why I risked being arrested.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.